Chapter 18. I asked my dear friend Gill about the way her grief was feeling to her right now. Gill's sister suffered from alcoholism most of her life and had lived in chaos, making disastrous and dangerous choices for herself. She had experienced terrible abuse and had carried on drinking until, in the end, worn down with illness, pain and fatigue, she had, Gill thinks, given up. Her death was as chaotic and as sad as her life had been. She died in what are considered suspicious circumstances, though Gill, who loved her and tried to keep an eye on her, believes that they were simply tragic circumstances. The police knocked on Gill's door one day to tell her of her sister's death. She says she heard the news and just felt darkness. Then the pressure of all the procedures took over. The coroners, the police, the family and all the post-death clearing of the flat and unravelling of all her paperwork and her life had to be dealt with. Gill's sister has still, while writing this, not been returned from her post-mortem. There is no body to bury and no way to mark her passing. The waiting is hard for everyone and cannot be helped. These are the procedures, and Gill says that her sister hid things all her life, and now, in death, she is still hiding. No one knows the official cause of death, and her sister is still hiding the cause. The grief Gill feels is bleak and tragic. She cared for her sister as a child in a family that was dysfunctional and loveless, and saw that her younger sister was born fragile when Gill was 8, failing to thrive in what Gill calls quite a mad family. Gill says that she was anxious and distressed herself as a child, but she made a decision not to be like her parents. She, in her own way, escaped. Her sister did not. I asked Gill how she felt about losing her sister to alcohol. I know she was an addict, but I lost my sister who was an addict. I lost her. The grief is there, but I'm not giving it much attention because I need to process it. I am in a vacuum, a holding space, and I need time to think. The suspicious circumstances, the police, coroner and post-mortem complicate this grief, says Gill. It was expected that she would die soon, but not so soon. I really hoped she would turn things around, but she couldn't. Even a week before she died, she was worried about the stigma of getting help with her mental health. She would not see a psychiatrist. Gill tried to help her sister in her final weeks and knew that she was dying, but her sister could not and would not come through. It was so hard for Gill to see this. Gill has worked as a nurse all her life and a palliative care nurse for many years. She could read the signs. If only she had had more wisdom, Gill says of her sister. She wouldn't let anyone call 999 that day. If she had, we wouldn't be in so much pain. She'd have died in hospital, no autopsy, complications, police involvement. But maybe it was still going to be complicated. There's no will. There are court cases, debts, hoarding, but it would have been less complicated, less mess. Life ahead without her? I don't want to think about it. I miss her. Gill is finding the lack of structure to this death hard to cope with. She does cope with it, as does everyone in the family. But the fact that after such a powerfully abusive life, there is still no rest, no closure, no body. It makes the whole trajectory of grieving completely outside the norm. And there is still so much to clear up, so much paperwork, so much sorting and uncovering to be done. I asked Gill today how she felt. There were glimpses of sanity between the drinking, she said. She was so elegant once, so beautiful, and the light was always there. My mother died, and I spent her dying time with her. It took us 6 weeks, and only one of us was left at the end. There was something profoundly personal about this, because despite our tangled history, we did love each other. A difficult, rather hopeless love, a love that included self-protection from me and fearful yearning from her. And more than the love, I look like her more and more as I age, and I understand her more too. We are so similar, and I spent much of my life trying not to be like her. Time has gone by, as it does, and the strangeness of having no mother is now not strange. I'm just one of those who has experienced this death of a parent, this strange loss of someone with whom I am linked by more than just relationship. I am linked by blood, by experience, and by a kind of psychic bond that means that sometimes I feel that I am her, just sometimes. Often, actually. My brothers, the 2 that are left, joke that now that my hair is white and grey, I look more than ever like her, and my grandchildren call me Grandma, which was for so long someone else's title. First, my wonderful Irish grandma in Birmingham, and then my beautiful, clever, troubled mother in Petworth. I am happy with this. It does not worry me, but sometimes I feel I have stepped too soon into my mother and grandmother's shoes. I don't feel old enough. I don't feel wise enough. I don't feel strong enough. In those moments, if I just look into the mirror, I see both of them looking back at me, and that feels very strange. I do ask them for help. I talk to them both, and as I have said before, both are dead, and both are nicer than ever to me because I can make up their replies in my head, I think. The thing I have not had to do is die. I am, at the moment, as far as I know, nowhere near it. My mother, Steve, Alan, Dominic have all faced it and have seen it through. They have had to die and know what comes next, if anything comes next. They have had to be alone with their thoughts in the night and feel the progress of their illness alone. They have had to say goodbye to not just me and a few family members, but to everyone they have ever known, to all the plans for the days, weeks, and years after they take their final breath, to the hopes they had for whatever it was they had hopes for, and to all the certainty that life has for us as we continue to breathe. Whatever their beliefs, whatever gave their lives structure and meaning, were to be put to the test, and no one, absolutely no one, could confirm or deny that all would be well. I have not had to hear a diagnosis and wonder about a prognosis. I have not had an accident and been killed instantly. I have not taken my own life, have not been killed by someone else, have not been executed, have not lost my life in conflict. All or any of this is yet to come for me, and all of this is to come for everyone, but I saw my mother do it. I saw Steve and Alan and Dominic do it, and I have seen other people I have sat with do it, so I know it can be done. But I have not had to face my own impending death in the way that those already dead have had to face theirs. I know how the people I leave behind may feel, and the grief they may feel once I am dead, and I am sorry that I will have to make them do that. I imagine that when I die, some people will develop greater compassion and understanding for others in their world. Some will fight hard and find it hard to accept. Some will grieve and come through and carry on as before, and at some point, as with all of us, I will fade into the past, into history, and my grandchildren will have to explain that that old photo in the drawer was of their grandmother, Antonia, long dead now. With every death, when the mist clears, comes a blessing. The most powerful blessing for me is that I have been allowed to witness dying, which is not a sentimental thing at all, but a practical, helpful and wise gift from one mortal human to another. I have no idea how my dying and death will be. I just know that it can be done, and after it is done, not only is there a gift from me to those I leave behind, but that whatever I think and feel about my own importance on this earth, life will go on from the second I take my last breath. Soon I will join all those before me as just a memory, and life will go on regardless. This is how it should be, and I am glad. This is now the end of the book. We've finished As Mother Lay Dying, and I'm really grateful that you listened and watched, and thank you for doing that. I hope that I hope it meant something to you. It meant a lot to me. It cleared in my mind the fact that despite all the difficulties, which, life is full of difficulties and wonderful things too, in the end, between my mother and me, there was really only love. I will be very interested to hear what you say about your experiences. So if you have anything to say about how things worked out for you with your experiences of death, dying, bereavement, grief, recovery, resolution, I would be really interested, and I think everybody would be really interested to hear how you felt and what happened to you. So bless you all, and thank you. I forgot to say, write your comments on in the comments section below, and I look forward to perhaps reading your take on things.